Hey there, everyone! I hope you are all doing good. Stasma here, in my Electric Voyage studio, and today I'm going to talk to you about the 242T by Tiptop and Buchla. This video is sponsored by Tiptop as they have sent me that module to demo. I did not get paid for the video, but I will keep the module. This is a module that I was not expecting that much in this 200T series reissue, because it's quite an obscure module, and I mean there's almost no information at all on it online. I will link to the few that I have found, and I've used a few pictures from the MEMS website, which is a very cool place to check out if you're interested in anything Buchla. They do an amazing job, and there's a lot of cool stuff to read online. So this is a programmable pulsar. So you can use this matrix, which was originally a pin matrix on the 70s model. To keep the cost down, the Tiptop guys decided to make it a digital matrix where you can travel through the different grids and just place things. So it's a little bit less immediate, I guess, than a proper pin, but it's also way cheaper. You don't lose any of those things. And yeah, it's quite convenient as well. It's a pretty cool module. It's a really nice addition to the system because I really felt that it was lacking complex rhythm programmability. So here we go. I'm going to show you a few stuff that you can do with it. Okay, let's have a look at the interface of this module. We have the main inputs here. One input to start the system, which can also be done with the start button. We have an input to stop, which can also be done via the stop button, as I just did. And we have that single pulse button, which is advancing one step only, manually. If we start the engine, we can then decide of its speed. And the period input is a control over the speed with an attenuator. These outputs are the main clock outs. The ramp down output, the gray one, like on the 245T, it is the clock, basically, the clock pulse, but instead of being a square wave like the usual, this one uses a saw wave, a falling ramp, which makes it quite ideal as a simple envelope. So here we have that falling ramp on every step. And these two alters are actually like a flip-flop. You get the odd clock pulse like 1, 3, 5, etc. on the top output and the even one on the second output. So even without programming anything, you can already have something quite complex going. This output a falling ramp on each pulse and then square waves from the length of the step, alternating at these two outputs. Then we have the matrix output, which correspond to the programmable matrix here. On the original design, this was a pin matrix. So we have 4 lanes. And the first one is the one where you decide the length of the sequence from 1 to 12. Here I am on 12. As I mentioned, this one does not use an actual pin matrix, but a digital matrix that you can travel through. So this is down to up. and this is left to right. And whenever you decide you want to do something, you press that little button. It's worth mentioning that you can reset all the triggers, basically start with a blank page by holding the on-off button. Done. So right now I made a 7-step pattern. So now I have one pulse every 7 steps. But I can add whatever I want. So this is the basic operations. Finally, we have the all out, which is the output of the pulsar. So like the ref, it will output every steps, but sending out triggers instead of a falling envelope. And then here we have the 2 clock inputs and reset input, which allow you to sync that up with whatever other part of your system or outside of your system. Plugging something to the clock input will stop the sequencer, the internal sequencer. And the single pulse button. I will sync that up with my 880. So here I'm taking trigger 2, which is a trigger on every steps. And I'm going to plug it to the clock input. And here we go. The typical thing you might think of with this kind of module is to trigger drum sounds or percussive things like I did in the interface demo. I personally tend to use them more to trigger other sequencers, which is what I've done here. I've done a bit of a messy patch. A is triggering this 245T and B this one. But A is also triggering when B is getting sampled in the Art 2 volt per octave quantizer. One clock is going to trigger a sequencer, but sample the second one value and quantize it. And same thing. And the third row is being sent at fluctuating random voltages and using the C lane. And I'm using the chord output and send that to both sides of the 259. I'm using the alternate gate to open the low pass gates one after the others. gives that nice pendulum movement. I could decide to patch this to actual envelope generators. For more control over the dynamic of the sound. And I'm taking, just as a final touch, I'm taking the mix out to the crypta delay that I'm going to demo soon by Original Electronics, then to the spectral processor for this weird chorusy spectral weirdness. Reverb is the wellspring, as always in the video. I really like that patch. And more feedback. Okay, here's the last bit of thing that I wanted to show, which is the reset. And a recent combo I've been really liking with the retro electronic pointers. So I can use that button or foot switch as a manual reset. And it's pretty cool when you have a sequence running and that you clock the 242T with something external. So right now I'm using the tracker here in the corner to make some breakbeats as usual, and I use a key step that's hidden down there just to convert the clock, and I send that to the 242T. So the manual reset is quite cool, so I know I can just press it, and when I will start the tracker, the thing will start from the first step. So what's happening is that C is advancing the sequencer. So if I use only one here, reset at 0, we'll have the same note for the 12 steps, then a new one. I can decide to have the sequencer advancing every 2 steps and then stop at the end. The value of the sequencer is sampled by B here in the art 2 volt per octave quantizer. Just by playing with this, you can already have quite a bunch of different stuff that can be quite fun. And A is triggering a function of the 281T that's doing the envelope. I could use the gate out of the art. So now B is sampling the value and doing the gate. We could use A for something else. Triggering another function, for example, to modulate the delay, for example. Lots of weird stuff you can do. You can also manually reset when it's playing. Which allow you to sort of play your rhythm. It's quantized as well. It will re-trigger on the next clock. Well, this thing is definitely more made to be used as an event generator. It can go at audio rate, so you can use it for different stuff. Let's put the speed at max. Take the ref out to a channel for the low pass gate. This means that you can take the alternate gate out, use them as a sub-oscillator, square wave sub-oscillator from this same signal. Here I'm just taking the all out to a clock divider from Retro Electronics. Oh yeah, all driven by the same signal. Wanted a slower clock, I could take one of the matrix output and even get patterns. So this is at the same time generating audio and rhythm information. If you wanted to go higher, because this is not very high note, you could use a square wave or any sharp wave from another oscillator to the clock input. It works, but it doesn't trigger the ref. So it will only work with alter. Which means you can use this as a sub-octave divider compared to the original pitch here. With two different phases to choose from. Well, clocking it like this, you can also, instead of using it for audio, you could use the 259 for audio right now. This is clocked by the 259, and we could extract triggers from that stream of pulses, which can be interesting to create some sort of rattling sound like this. Let's add some, I guess, simple white noise. Use the last one to ping the 296T. Okay, now some tips and tricks. There's quite a few ways to get efficient rhythmic results by self-patching the module into the period input. So, for example, let's go back to the simple thing I did earlier, which is using the ref output as an envelope for VCA. So here I have an envelope every step. And this envelope is fully linear. If I send this envelope, this ref output, back to the period input, the more I go this way, the more exponential the envelope becomes, and this speeds up the clock. On the other hand, it will make the ref output logarithmic or anti-exponential and make the clock slower. This is a way to make the internal clock slower than it can be or faster than it can be from the knob here. It's worth having a look at an oscilloscope, so let's go for it. Another thing, you can use any of these two clock outputs to create swing. It's very sensitive though. So if you want to really use it, I suggest you first send that to an attenuator. Okay, to use the 257 down there. And dial in just a tiny bit on the attenuator. It becomes more usable here. This is without using the matrix at all. One other thing I like to do on this kind of patch is to use, before to send that ref out somewhere, to send it to any kind of VCA that gets control voltages. So let's use the control voltage processor. And then send a step voltage from a sequencer. You could decide to create an accent here, for example. Triggering an envelope on only one step from any of the matrix output. And add it to the mix inside the 257. Decide to fire new random value only on one step. Send it, control the timbre, for example, or whatever else. It might seem that it's a pretty simple tool, but you can really open up a lot of possibilities in a system. It's still very primitive compared to what we have now, such as the Helix Euclid I was using in that case before I got this one sent by Tiptop. But yeah, this one is also much more programmable in the sense that you can really decide where you want a step or not. Just for fun, here is a short 290-60 ping jam. Another pretty fun use for the 242T is to use it as a burst generator, meaning that you can set up some triggers on 2 channels and use the third one basically to stop the whole thing. So let's try it out. I'm going to use A and B to ping 2 low-pass gates. Okay, so here we go. Okay. Now, if we want to set up the burst thing, we need a reset. So I'm going to put a trigger at the 12th step of the C row and patch it back to the stop input. And magic. I've now used the all out to trigger the quantized random voltages from the 260-60, and I'm going to send that to control the pitch of both oscillators. One thing I'd like to do is to, instead of using the start and stop on the module, I will use a channel of the 281T. And a fun thing could be to use that same function to control the speed for some bouncing bully kind of effects. The trick to do this with one cable is to set a minimum attack and use the function out, not the end out, for both. You can cut the sequence in half or in different parts by placing more reset on the C lane here. So it goes from beginning to the first reset point and then it continues, which is quite fun. That's it. Many thanks to you for watching. Many thanks to Tiptop Audio for sending this module so I could demonstrate it to you and use it to make music. If you want to support the channel, you can go have a look at my Patreon page that will show up right now. You can also buy some stuff from the affiliate links in the description of the video, and you could also go grab some music on Bandcamp, whether it is on my page or on my label page, Concrete Collage, and you can grab most of the stuff as pay what you want, so you don't even have to buy it. Whatever. If you feel like supporting the channel, it's always welcomed, of course. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.